So what if I were to tell you that you can quit porn cold turkey forever? And in fact, I think you already have. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you don't know me, I'm Trey, and I love to talk about faith-based self-improvement. So if that's something that sounds interesting to you, consider subscribing. So today we're covering a bit of a vulnerable topic for me. So full transparency, I was exposed to porn at the age of 6 years old. And since then, it's been kind of a constant struggle and temptation for me. And since finding my faith, I have seen so much progress and growth and victory in those things. But I don't want it to come across as if I'm like this guy with 10 plus years of complete purity and all of these things, because that's just not my story whatsoever. But in my struggle, I have found a pretty simple truth that I believe changed everything for me, and hopefully it can help you too. So I'm not gonna waste your time. Here's that simple truth. If you can just go the rest of today without watching porn, whether it's 1 hour or 23 hours, right? And you're not thinking about, tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that, and oh no, it's day 4, now I'm starting to get withdrawals and anxiety and night sweats and all these weird symptoms and this is so hard. Like, no, you're just thinking about the rest of today. If you can stay pure for that amount of time, you can stay pure forever. Because when you think about it, there's fundamentally no difference between staying pure today and staying pure tomorrow. They're both 24-hour time frames in which you decide not to do something. And yeah, that decision can be difficult sometimes, but it's fundamentally just a decision. Now, I want to be upfront with you. This video is not a practical, step-by-step, comprehensive guide for how to quit pornography. But I have actually created one of those videos. It's got some practical action steps, some resources, tools, things that I have found so helpful in my journey just on a practical level. And so if that's something that you're more interested in, hit the link below. I'll have that linked in the description for you. But what I really want to focus on in this video is the belief systems that if we don't get rid of, could cause us to fall into despair, hopelessness, discouragement, and eventually relapsing. And I promise you, you could have all of the practical tools and accountability and all these other things, but if you don't dismantle these beliefs, it is a non-starter. All right, let's get into it. Belief number 1, it's too hard. We've all felt this way, okay? But I think it's because in part, our perspective is way too wide open. So let me explain. Let's say you've got 2 kids in front of you, right? Child A and child B. And you walk up to child A and you say, hey, by the way, you're not allowed to have candy for the rest of your entire life, all right? No candy from here on out forever. No exceptions, no nothing. You're never gonna have candy again. So what's that kid gonna do? They're gonna break down, they're gonna cry, they're gonna completely crumble under the weight of that wide open perspective that is the rest of their candy-less life, right? That's miserable. And for all you know, right, they're just gonna wait until you turn your back, find the nearest candy or something, literally anything sweet, stuff their face with it, and promptly lie to you a minute later. But now let's say you go up to child B and you say, you know what, buddy? I really believe that you can go the entire day without eating candy. In fact, I'm so confident I'll make a bet with you, okay? If you can go the entire day without eating candy, me and you will go to the arcade, we'll play some games, get you a toy stuffed animal thing. I don't know what kids play with these days. Something fun, right? What do you think about that? Well, that kid is going to see this as a challenge worthy of his time, effort, intentionality, all of it. Not just because he wants the reward, but because he wants to feel accomplished at the end of the day. He's not thinking about the rest of his life. He's not even thinking about tomorrow. He's just thinking about how fun it's gonna be to go to the arcade and just relish in his accomplishment. Like, yeah, I won, I did it. I accepted the challenge and I won. Can you see what a huge difference that makes? Just closing in the perspective to the next 24 hours. You see, but the problem is we very rarely treat ourselves like child B. Usually we treat ourselves like child A because of our shame, right? We think to ourselves like, okay, even if I don't watch porn today, it doesn't really mean anything, right? Maybe you watched it yesterday, or maybe you watched it 5 days ago or a week ago, and that still is weighing on you. That's still on your mind. That's still all on your shoulders. And you're just thinking, well, so what if I don't mess up today? That just means that I'm slightly less of a despicable, pathetic, disgusting, sorry excuse of a man. And I know I'm being a little bit dramatic, but let's be real. Our internal dialogues have probably sounded like that at one point in time or another. I know mine has, which actually leads us to the next belief. Belief number 2, I'm just a bad person. Now, when you're dealing with any sort of reoccurring sin, it's pretty easy to fall into this trap, right? Because it's our own foolishness and lust and greed and fallen desires that lead us into sin, but it's our shame that keeps us trapped there. It's our shame that causes us to lie to those that we love. And as we give in to shame over and over and over and over, we feel like we're being afflicted, but what we're really doing is building defense mechanisms around our problem. We're actually protecting sin with our shame. You think you're punishing yourself, but you're really protecting yourself. And I'll even go a step further and share with you a conviction that I've felt at certain times, which is the conviction of justification. Right? Because you can justify something one of two ways. You can either come up with what you think is a solid argument as to why what you're doing is right, which, let's be honest, isn't really possible in this situation. Or two, you can identify yourself by your actions and say, hey, this is just a part of my identity. And if you don't like it, if you think it's wrong, well, too bad. It's just who I am. I can't help it, right? We see this a lot in the sexual identity movement, right? It's I like this lifestyle. I like doing these things and being a part of these things. And so I'm going to engulf them into my identity so that you can't call me out on it. Because to say what I do is wrong is then to say I am wrong as a person. It's a defense mechanism. And when you get confronted and convicted, whether externally by other people that love and care about you or internally by the Holy Spirit, and your immediate thought process is just to bear down on yourself and to shrivel up and shrink in the face of all your mistakes and say, you know what, I'm just a horrible person. I'm a sorry excuse for a man. I can't believe myself and all of these things. You probably think you're doing the right thing, but all you're doing is assigning what you've done to your identity. And that doesn't help you. It doesn't help anybody around you that could possibly be hurt by your sin. So in those moments where you feel your mind going there, try to go down a different mental pathway. Remind yourself what God says about you, and then understand that what you're doing doesn't line up, but it doesn't mean that anything He says about you isn't true. And this really protects you from falling into a very bitter relationship with God, because I know that I've been in a position where I've been praying prayers like, God, why did you make me so screwed up? How could you make me like this? How could you afflict me with this problem and this, that, and the other? Blaming God for my own stupid decisions. This false identity and this false idea and this false belief of I'm just a bad person is how you end up there. Something that's helpful for me to realize is that how God perceives something dictates reality. So if because of the blood of Jesus, He sees you as righteous, that means you're righteous. Your actions don't get to supersede God's perception. He dictates what's real, not your stupid decisions. Belief number 3, quitting cold turkey is impossible. Now, anybody that's dealt with any addiction at any level probably has a seed of this belief somewhere in there. I know I have. It's very easily reinforced. Like if you go to counseling or therapy or anything like that, and I'm not saying counseling and therapy is bad. I've done the whole shebang, okay? There's great counselors and therapists, yada, yada, yada. But oftentimes it feels as though they're helping you formulate a plan for failure. Like you're just building this safety net around yourself because you know you're gonna fall. And it feels as though this plan is just to fail less and less and less and less up until the point at which the addiction has a minimal effect on your life, but it's still there. They've just kind of accepted that there's no really getting rid of it. You just have to shrink it as much as you can. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate the mentality of getting back up, right? You fall off the horse, you get right back on, you just keep with that relentless, persistent pursuit of purity. Like I'm all for that, I love it. But if the ultimate goal in all of this effort and intentionality and accountability and blood, sweat, and tears and difficult conversations and being honest and transparent and vulnerable, if the ultimate best outcome from all of that is to have to sit down with my future wife once a year even and tell her, oh yeah, I watched this or I did this, and completely crush her self-confidence, her self-image, her confidence in me, her confidence in our marriage, if the ultimate goal of all of this effort is that outcome, I have zero interest, because why would I give my all, my everything, and fight day after day after day for that outcome? Now, you may not want to hear this, but this fight requires hope just as much as it does discipline. I mean, you need a truly ridiculous amount of hope. You need to have the mentality and the attitude of a little boy that believes he can fly. You cannot approach this with a cynical, jaded attitude. It's just not gonna work. Trust me, I've tried. And that can be scary because as soon as you introduce hope into the equation, suddenly there's no more self-protection, there's no more self-numbing, there is no more safety net. There's no casualty plan for, okay, if I mess up. No, you're not thinking about that. We're playing to win. As soon as you create that dynamic, you create stakes for yourself. You're making the decision to shoot for the stars And the even harder decision to, should you fall, let it hurt, let it sting. That's a hard decision to make, but I really believe it's the only way to fight. Let me tell you right now, I believe to my very core that I will never watch porn again. I believe it so firmly. And this is coming from someone whose life has been wrecked by sexual brokenness and addiction before. Like I've been through the gambit, okay? So I'm not someone on the outside looking in my perfect Christian cubicle. Like, no. There's an awesome line by Lecrae that says, hear a broken man tell you healing happens, hear a liar tell you truth to bring you gladness. That's 100% what this is. And to all of the men right now that are listening to this, thinking to themselves like, man, that sounds nice. I really wish that I could believe that. I wish I could commit to that. I wish that I could step out like that, but I just can't. I know I'm going to fail. I know I'm going to mess up because this is who I am and all of these things. Brother, I get it, right? Trust me. All the thoughts that you're having, I've had a million times. And if I were to look down the periscope of the next 10, 20, 30 years of my life and put all that weight on my shoulders, I'd probably feel the exact same way. But something an old pastor of mine said that really stuck with me is that a life of purity is lived one day at a time. And so I might not be able to handle the next 3 decades of my life all at once, but I can stay pure today. I can suck it up today. I can be accountable today. If you can just do that, right? If you can just win the battle of today and lay your head on your pillow tonight thinking, you know what, the man that I was today, I don't hate him so much. I don't despise him so much. He wasn't so pathetic. He wasn't so disgusting. He wasn't just a bad person. And, you know, I think I respect him. I respect him. And all things considered, I might even be him again tomorrow. If you can just do that today, you haven't just won the day, you've won the entire battle. That's it. You've beaten the big bad monster because of your decision today. And sure, there might be another battle tomorrow. Who cares? You won today. Why can't you win tomorrow? It's the same monster. And the best part is every time you beat him, he gets smaller and smaller and you get strong. You can quit porn forever. And call me hopeful, but I believe that you already have. You know what? I'm proud of you.